Whether you're picking and grinning or just picking or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up.
Okay, Jason, I know you just had a real big, a really exciting show at the Grand Ole Opry.
That's
and
right.
I remember, was it Joy Aladakun?
It was Joy Aladakун's debut at the Grand Ole Opry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, tell us all about it.
So I'm glad you asked, because I think there's probably a lack of awareness from a lot of people, because there certainly was lack of awareness from me about what the Grand Ole Opry is all about. And if you know anything about the Opry's history, you remember and or know that it was a radio show that they, had a live, kind of audience for in the old Ryman Auditorium before they moved to the big arena, whenever that was, or big theater. It's about 4,400 seat theater now. But it's still a radio show. It's still a 2-hour radio show. The show starts at 7:00 sharp, and they do 2 hours, and they close out at 9:00 and you're done. And they roll in, 5, 6 artists during that time. And each artist plays 3 or 4 songs, depending upon who they are and all that good stuff. And they always have an Opry member or 2 in the lineup. And then they bring in, sometimes new people, like Joy Aladakun made her debut the night I was there. Wyatt Flores, who had already been there before, it wasn't his debut, but he came back and played 3 or 4 songs. There were a couple other artists there too. T. Graham Brown opened the show. So if you remember from back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a song I remember called Darling. So he sang that, and he sang a couple other like top 40 country hits. And he told the most hideously awful dad jokes as part of his set. So there's a little, showman entertainment stuff going on. But T. Graham Brown was there, and Michael Cleveland and Jason Carter came out and played with their band, which was amazing. I've seen Michael lives here in Louisville or in the Louisville area. I've seen them play a couple of times. That was great. And then the headliner for the evening was none other than Vince Gill. So we got to see Vince Gill. And essentially what the Opry is, and you should really, if you're interested in it at all, or you like country music, or you want to experience something really neat, essentially, I think it's 5 or 6 nights a week, even at the Grand Ole Opry, they have these 2-hour shows that are, very regimented 2 hours, and it's 5 or 6 artists, and they each do 2 or 3 songs each. And it's got a little host, and you have one of the NASCAR drivers came out and introduced one of the acts. I don't know who he is, because I don't follow NASCAR. But there's all these Nashville celebrity folks that are in the audience and that are there. And it's just kind of a neat experience. Now, what I will say, and I was thrilled to be there because Joy is my favorite, as you all know, and I take a lot of pride in being at her first headlining show at the Ryman. And I was at her Opry debut, and that was great. Now, there is such a thing, however, as too good of a seat, because if you saw my pictures on social media, I was sitting in the second row off to one side. And the thing about the Grand Ole Opry is the center circle, right? Which the wood is from the old, Grand Ole Opry Ryman stage. It's actually from backstage, not the center of it. But anyway, so Joy is front and center because it's also on television, right? And so she's front and center. I'm basically 90 degrees to her right, and I'm down on the floor behind a speaker and several microphones that were in there for other performers that were going to come up later. So my pictures are shit. Like, I couldn't get a good shot of her. Now, I was right in front of the MC's podium. Now, but I was so close that all I could see was up the MC's nose. And so when Joy came over to talk to her as a little, hey, this is your debut. Welcome to tell us a little bit about your songs, I can see up Joy's nose. And Joy she wasn't as tall as the MC person. So I could kind of only see her forehead. So there is a such thing as too good of a seat. So if you go to the Grand Ole Opry, get 5-6 rows back at least
Yeah.
so you can see everything, and be as close to the middle as you can so you can see straight on. But it's kind of like being at a very short mini music festival because you get to see so many acts
Mhm.
back to back to back, comfortable seating, nice room, pleasant people. I will say the average age of the audience that night was 97 years old. And I don't know if, I mean, I'll say this, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but maybe 8% of the crowd wasn't white. So, but I think you kind of expect that. Now, with
Yeah.
Joy Coon on the docket and Wyatt Flores on the docket, I didn't expect it to be that white, but it was very white. So they could use a little audience diversity, in my opinion. But I had a great time. It was a good show.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad you got to experience that and you were there for Joy's debut. I know we all know that she is your favorite. So, yeah, that's very exciting. I have not seen a show there. I mean, I've been in the building,
Mhm.
but I've not seen a show there, but you can if you have Sirius XM, right? You can listen to the shows um on the satellite
Yep.
radio service.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's good stuff. And of course I've seen several, if you follow the Grand Ole Opry on Facebook or any of the other social channels, they replay a lot of the segments. I've seen the Wyatt Flores because Wyatt Flores came out and did a song with Vince Gill. And it was actually really touching and really cool because at the very beginning of it, Vince is kind of in the middle and Wyatt's over on the side. And Vince goes, "Son, if you're singing lead, you're in the circle. Get over here." And
aw.
so it was really cool to be there. And even though I've never been a huge, fan of Vince Gill, I
Yeah,
have a world of respect for him as an artist,
sure.
and just being there to hear him sing was great. The only bad thing about the experience, honestly, and I got to give the Opry credit here because they had 40 tour buses of old people. Well, okay, they had 40 tour buses. I don't know if they were all old people, but they had 40 tour buses there that one night. And we parked right across from where the tour buses parked. So when we left at 9 o'clock, when it's over, everybody was going in the same little, bottleneck over this little
Yeah.
walking bridge to get to the parking lot. And I will say, credit to the Grand Ole Opry staff because everybody kind of did what they were supposed to do. Nobody panicked. I was really, really impressed with the fact that they were able to kind of manage the crowd without, because when you have a tour bus full of old people and you got a big herd of people walking out to the thing, I'm expecting at least 10 elderly women going, "Where's Janice? I don't see Janice. Where's Janice?" And then none of that happened. So big credit to them. Now, going back, I'm
Ooh,
getting off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I'm wired. I've had too much caffeine. So,
okay. No worries.
the only thing negative about it, and this is something that I think it's important for us to talk about because this is something we've touched on a little bit before, but I'm sitting in the second row. Vince Gill is playing a song with Vince Gill's voice and
Mhm.
and Vince Gill's guitar, and it's just him and his guitar. So you should be able to hear a pin drop in the room. But the 20 something fucking couple sitting in front of me was at one point. I mean, if Karen had not been with me, I would have done this. But Karen was with me and I didn't want to make a scene. But I wanted to lean forward and say, "Hey, nobody paid to hear you two fucking talk," because everybody could hear them.
Yeah,
And it was really disrespectful. And it's
absolutely.
one thing to be in a noisy, crowded bar talking while the musician is playing, which is still rude, by the way. But it's another thing to be in the fucking church, of country
The mother
music, the
church,
Grand Ole
right.
Opry, the mother church. Vince fucking Gill is playing a quiet song and playing guitar, not loud. And these two people are, "Oh, do you want to go out to the drinks after the September?" Oh God, I wanted to fucking strangle these two kids.
That is a total pet peeve. I mean, we can do a whole show just on that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really disrespectful, and it's not even it's like, do you have any social awareness,
No,
right? Like,
none.
do you know how to conduct yourself in public? And I think as a generation, that's lacking.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's carried over. I mean, Ed Fitzgerald's earlier, what was it? Like in November, Nathan Graham played there, and there was like a table like off to our or to my left, and there were a couple of women sitting there. And I mean, the place was it was pretty well packed, right? And Nathan, his stuff is not quiet. Well, when he plays with the full band,
Right.
and they were talking so loudly that they were talking over Nathan and the band.
Yep.
And I'm like, you got to be talking really, really loud to disturb my listening enjoyment, right? Yeah, everybody, even the people working there were complaining about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone said something to them or what, but it's super annoying. So folks, if you're going out to a show, live music, don't talk while the performers are doing their thing, right?
And if you want to talk, that's
Leave.
okay. Go somewhere where you can talk and not disturb the people who came to listen to the music.
Exactly.
I didn't have any problem with these two kids talking if they would have done it in the lobby. They could have heard what was going on. They could have said, "Oh, I was there. I had front row tickets. I sat there
Or
for a
during
while."
intermission.
Right. But to take it outside where other people don't have to listen to you. And
Amen.
it's just irritated me. It's one, and again, it's one thing to be in a crowded bar and it's loud and, there's ebbs and flows to the music. So there becomes a quiet part. And then all of a sudden the guy who was screaming at his date next to you is still screaming at his date, despite the fact the music went down and now everybody can hear him and everybody
Right.
knows he's the asshole. That's one thing. And I'm not saying that's right. I don't think you should do that either. Go somewhere where you're not going to bother people who are trying to listen to music. But for God's sakes, kids, and I'm saying kids because these two motherfuckers were 23, 24 years old.
Oh dear.
And one of them was, I think he was trying to look like Wyatt Flores. And the girl, I don't know what the hell she was trying to look like, but she was all gussied up and looked like she was, going out clubbing or something afterwards. And it was just, ugh. I mean, I could hear every word they were saying, and they had
Ugh.
nothing of substance to say.
Right.
I know I'm sounding like a fucking grumpy old man here, but Jesus Christ, it's Vince fucking Gill, man. Understand where you are. Look around. Understand that
Exactly.
people are being quiet for a fucking reason.
Situational awareness.
All right, this is gonna be a
All right,
long fucking episode. Welcome to Roots Music
Really?
Rambler. She's Frank.
And he's long-winded, Falls.
And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love and the fuckers in front of us we hate.
That's right. But today on the show, we don't hate him. Nope. We're talking with Dakota Ray Parker, who just so happens to be from Eastern Kentucky, like our good friend Falls over here.
Hell yeah. Hillsborough, Kentucky. That's up in Fleming County now. It's up there north of Moorhead and south of Flemingsburg up there in northeast Kentucky near that Daniel Boone National Forest up in there. They got the farms and they got the Chardonnay cattle and they got the hollers and the creeks and
the what cattle?
The Chardonnay. They got them Chardonnay cattle up in there. That's where they make them hamburger meats and shit. They grow them hamburger animals up in there.
Oh,
Fleming County.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
So anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, he automatically wins bonus points for me for being a fellow hillbilly from Eastern Kentucky, but he's also a fine songwriter and musician who really went through the ringer growing up. I mean, he's had a very, very difficult background, which he talks a little bit about in the interview. And so he turned those experiences and the challenging feelings that he had going through those experiences into songs that a lot of us can relate to, even though we haven't been through it.
Right. For sure. And those stories from his early years can be quite heartbreaking. He says now that music saved him, and we've heard stories like that before too, So we'll talk about it with Dakota a bit more in detail during the interview. But it is admirable. Again, someone like me who, appreciates art like to the maximum, but has no creativity of her own. I truly do admire though when artists are able to turn such adversity into
Yeah.
art.
And he's got a real kind of diverse formula for what he writes about because even though a lot of his stories are similar in theme, he's got a lot of influences, a lot of sounds. I mean, he told us at one point he wanted to be a rapper, and so he's throwing out Lil Wayne and Eminem, and I'm like, okay, we're a little bit out of left field on this one,
Yeah.
but and those influences don't necessarily emerge directly in his music, but probably the lyricism and some of the rhythms and whatnot do. He also has some tunes that are like, bluegrass bands. I mean, there's, banjos and fiddles in the background and, stand-up basses and stuff like that. So it's a very diverse array of sounds, even though I think I would probably put him in the category of a little bit closer to mainstream country music in general. He's got some interesting turns and twists in there too. A real diverse
Yeah.
sound from him.
Yeah, but it's still authentic sounding though,
Yeah.
and his bluegrass cuts are probably my favorites of his.
Mhm.
They are definite toe tappers.
Yeah.
So after we talk to Dakota, we'll also have our pick in the grinning segment where Falls and I share our picks for music, artists, or albums that are making us grin.
That's right. So all that and more is coming up on hopefully a less long-winded episode of Roots Music Rambler than the first 20 minutes or however long we've been talking. So that's coming up. We're going to take a quick break to listen to the fine sponsors that make this show happen and pay me 8 cents per episode to talk as long as I damn well want. Stay tuned. Dakota Ray Parker is coming up. This is Roots Music Rambler.
April, do you recall a time when we guzzled down the wine in the bed sheets? You looked me in the eyes and you fed me a bunch of lies about how we'd make it, how we'd make it. Next day I was just a faint old memory. It's sad to admit, but I fall in love too quickly. April.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That is a song called April from Dakota Ray Parker, singer-songwriter, fellow Eastern Kentuckian. Dakota joins us today on the big show. Dakota, man, thanks for spending some time with us. How are you?
Oh, living the dream. Thanks for having me.
I always follow up with that by saying, whose dream? But,
Yeah, it's true.
but,
Or is
but
it
you
somebody's
actually are
nightmare?
kind of, yeah, you are kind of living the dream for a lot of people. So we know you've got some real exciting stuff coming up, and we'll get to talking about all that. First, though, I want to talk about, kind of your background, your roots, and your upbringing. I think you've described your childhood as living in a kind of wild freedom most kids never know. Tell us a little bit more about that. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And tell us a little bit about that background story.
Yeah. So I grew up in Hillsborough, Kentucky. I was born in Ohio, but I don't remember Ohio because I was a little baby. But grew up in Kentucky, and we had goats, pigs, chickens. I actually have a scar on my eye right here where I was flogged by a rooster when I was a kid. And my dad, he's like,
Oh,
I shot that thing 10 times and it wouldn't die. I was like, you didn't try to shoot it on top of my head, did you? Like, I hope not. That'd explain a lot if a bullet hit me. But
oh my goodness.
yeah, my parents didn't get along too well. So we spent a lot of time in foster care and in and out of different homes and all that jazz. And then yeah, I graduated high school and was in a different home, and then my mom passed away right before I graduated, and then yeah, rest is history.
So we joke, or I joke quite a bit about all y'all being from Eastern Kentucky and, being kin.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So but I'm also learning that there is something to be said about coming out of those hollers. All right. So
yeah,
to an
yeah,
outsider like me, I'm a Yankee. Um,
yeah.
So to an outsider like me, it seems that wild freedom that you kind of talked about almost comes with a trade-off. You also
Yes.
mentioned like the chaos of childhood.
Yes.
So would you
Yes.
mind sharing a little bit more with us about those experiences and how maybe it kind of led you down the path and shaped you into the artist and songwriter you are today?
So yeah, so like, the freedom part was like, we could literally do anything that we wanted. We had the woods. That was our like escape. We went to the woods and walked around for miles and miles and miles. And then, in the midst of that, we had parents that didn't get along. They fought all the time. They would hit each other. They drank. They did drugs. They all this. But I don't know. It was a weird thing. We were always outside, So and what kind of my mom got me a guitar for Christmas, um, and that kind of sparked something in me to like, oh, I'm gonna start playing this thing, and I can drown out all the yelling and the screaming and the sirens and the whatever. And so I just kind of stuck with that, and that gave me that escape from all of it. And it kind of made me feel important, like I was
Sure.
doing something cool.
Well, and
Um,
not necessarily. I mean, I've heard that story before. Jason Isbell talks a lot about sitting in his room writing and singing songs and playing guitar to escape his parents having conflicts and
yeah,
whatnot. So that's
yeah.
definitely a common thread with a lot of really talented singer songwriters. So tell me how old you were when you got that guitar, and then take me through the progression of I learned to play, I started playing, and then I started maybe playing in front of other people, and then I decided this is what I wanna do. Take us through that evolution.
Yeah, so I I'm really bad, with ages and stuff. I've kinda blocked a lot of it out, but I think I was 12 or 13, something like that, when I got the guitar, and then I would practice and practice, I'd give up. I'd practice and practice, I'd give up, and then I had a buddy in high school named Shane Harmon, and he played guitar really well, and, I really looked up to him, and so he kinda made me wanna keep trying. And, yeah, I just kept with it, and, I always wrote. I always loved writing. English was my favorite class in high school. I always loved writing. I used to write little books when I was a kid and try to sell them out front of the apartments when my mom was in a halfway
Oh,
house. I used to do that all the time. I loved it. I loved writing, and so writing has always been there, but, like,
Mhm.
the singing, I learned how to sing. Wasn't born with any sort of singing talent. I'd go outside, to escape, and I just listen to songs, and I would just sing along to them over and over and over and over again. And and before that, so also when I was a kid, this is important. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rapper. I didn't want to be a singer at all. I just wanted to rap. I was into Eminem, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, all them dudes. And then I discovered the Avett Brothers, and my
Yeah,
whole like trajectory changed. They were
nice.
incredible. Yeah.
that'll
But
do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It all just kind of shaped into. I wish I had better words, but I
Right.
don't know.
We get it. We
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It was a revelation.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Nice. Wow. So, okay, you went from wanting to be a rapper to finding Avett Brothers and now singer-songwriter. And
Yes,
then you so you were living in Kentucky, you went to Indiana, right? You lived in Indiana for a bit.
yes, yes,
And then just a couple years ago, was it 2023, you decided you're gonna pursue music full time, right?
yeah, yes.
So
Correct. Yes.
what kind of brought you to such a monumental decision? Were you scared? Now we're more than 2 years out, and are you
Yeah,
glad you made that decision?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great question. So, the main starting point of all this, was I worked at a place called White Rock Recreation that I was really passionate about and loved it. We did boat trips and ice cream and all that. I loved it. And but that my boss, he sold it to somebody else, and I didn't like the owners. They were terrible people. And so I was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to quit because I'm not happy.
And so I quit, and I was looking for a job for a second, and then I thought to myself, I was like, what if I didn't get a job? Like me, I know music is what I want. I know it is. I know that's what I want. So why am I know I'm going to be miserable wherever I go. I might be happy for the first couple weeks, and then it's just going to get old, and I'm going to be like, I want to do something else. So I started in the midst of trying to start up being full time music. I started a handyman business, and it'll thanks to God, I mean it went really well, and I've been able to do it for 2 years now, and I definitely don't regret it. I've built a pretty cool thing, I think, but I've worked my ass off, so it's a lot of
Sure.
work.
Well,
That's a lot of work.
that always pays off, and
It
we do
does.
appreciate you sharing the stories of your background and upbringing. I know that had to be tough, and sometimes it's probably tough to talk about, but thanks for sharing that all with us.
Oh, no
We
problem.
want to talk more about your music, but we probably ought to listen to a little bit more of it first to give everybody a little basis for what we're talking about here. So let's
Yeah.
take a little break now. We're going to go out with one of those toe tappers we referenced in the open. This one's called Devil's Daughter by Dakota Ray Parker. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Well, you like to say that I love you so when I'm next to you with my hand in yours, and as soon as I leave and turn my back, there's someone else slipping through the cracks. I'm tired of being peace of mind. I'm going blind under your light. Well, I went up and down this holler hunting for you, darling. All I found was a hit of those bluegrass blues. Oh, a hit of those bluegrass blues.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That's Bluegrass Blues from a son of the bluegrass state, Dakota Ray Parker. All right, we talked in the previous segment, Dakota, about your roots, your upbringing, what led you to playing music full time. You experienced some really good success with your single "Rebel on the Run," which prompted you to release a couple of EPs, Kentucky Gap, Higher Ground. How did that success feel at the time? Was that kind of sort of feeding the beast, and did you expect it at all?
Definitely not. No, that was my first real song that I ever released. And it was weird. I didn't promote it. I did nothing. The only thing that I did that I think about now, and I'm kind of into like the ghost stuff, but I released that song on my mom's birthday. So I'm like, maybe that's why it took off, who
Oh,
knows? But I like to think that, but I
sure.
don't know. Yeah, it felt great, and that definitely was like, all right, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I've had
Nice.
a lot of failures along the way, but yeah, that's part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, you can't.
That
What's
is
that
part of
saying?
it.
What's that saying? You're trying is never. What's the saying? You don't try, you fail. I don't remember. I'm an idiot. But there's something you say that's something like, if you never tried, then you failed or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. That's
All
Anyway,
right,
close. That's close.
yeah,
that's fitting. That sounds good.
yeah,
So this show will air in the beginning of 2026. So we could talk about last year, 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you released your self-titled debut album. All right.
Yes.
So we cannot imagine how that must have felt, especially since it hadn't been all that long since you decided to pursue music full time. So what have you learned through the experience of putting out that album? Does it make you want to keep writing and recording? Like, how are you feeling now about it?
Yeah. So I guess what I've learned from that album is more of like marketing. When it comes to like albums are, um, and I'm just saying for mine, but just I've done a lot of research and albums are kind of dying a little bit. So what I've learned from that album is to do singles. At least, especially when you release an album, at least do like 4 or 5 singles from that album and then release the album. But in a music sense, I've just learned to be authentic, and that's it. I put it out because I wasn't sure if people would dig it because it's kind of all over the place with genres and writing, and it doesn't really make sense. But I did it anyways, and I was like, and people seem to love it. So, uh, yeah, just be authentic. I guess that's what I learned, and write about personal stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's touch on that a little bit about. I think you've I read somewhere where you have said before that music is a way of turning pain into something honest. Do you ever get stuck, like unsure of what to write about next? I'm really curious about, when you're sitting down to write a song and you're trying to turn that pain into honesty. Is there ever a time where you're like, I don't want to be that honest?
Yeah. uh, yeah. There's a few songs that I have in my voice memos that would get me canceled, for sure. So there's some of those, yes, but when it comes to writing, I don't really sit down and write a song. I mean, I do, but it just kind of I could be, playing blocks with my boys, and all of a sudden I get this line in my head, and that's when I'm like, and my family knows, all right, leave me alone. I'm gonna go grab my guitar and I'm gonna work on this line. Then most of the time, 90% of the time, I get that whole song done in the next 10 minutes. That's just how it, and I think it
Wow.
comes from
Wow.
pain or, trauma or whatever that just is coming out, and I always feel really good when it comes out, but it doesn't, some songs take a
Sure.
little bit of time, but most are real quick.
Wow,
Nice.
that's impressive. Now, you talked about the Ava brothers being,
Yes.
like a major influence for you.
Yeah.
Who else? What else has, or who else has inspired you to become the songwriter, the artist that you are now?
Yeah. I mean, Eminem, he was a big one, because of his songwriting, rapping or whatever. But like Clem Snide, he's a huge influence on me. Uh, he used to be pretty big in the 90s, but Clem Snide, the Avery Brothers, I'm trying to think, Tracy Chapman, she was a real big influence on me.
Interesting.
Toby Keith, um, yeah, I think that's pretty much, like Lumineers, like Mumford and Sons, that's a big one. Mumford and Sons.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
I did see it on one of your social media posts. You said something. You were playing a song, and I don't remember which one it was, but I think your caption read, "If Tyler Childers and Jason Isbell got together and had a baby."
Oh yeah, that's my
That like
vampire song. Yeah.
okay, that's the song.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. And I was like, I read that and I'm like, oh my gosh, sign me up. I mean, those are two of our favorites. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Cool.
really awesome.
Yeah.
sure.
That was just random. I was trying to think of something. I was like, I love both of them, so let's just mix them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
See what happens.
So we're sitting here at the beginning of a new year, Dakota, and I know you've got some singles lined up to be released. Can you share with us what and when we can expect new music from you in the next few months, and where we'll be able, where will we be able to catch you on the road?
Yeah, of course. So January 9th, I got my song Clown out, which I think is gonna get me to Red Rocks. We'll see.
Okay.
And then that's just a joke. Then the next one,
It's a dream. It's a goal.
manifest. Yeah.
There
I
you
tell
go.
myself all the time, I'm gonna play Red Rocks. I'm gonna play Red Rocks. Anyways, and then I've got 5 more songs coming after that. One's called Tulsa Town. It's very weird. It's like how do you describe it? It's like klezmer music type feel. I've always had a dream to write a song like that, and I did. And then I got one called Freeborn Man, that I possibly am gonna do with Alex Williams. I'm trying to get him on it.
Oh,
Nice.
And then one called, we don't really have a good title yet, but Dancing Slow. It's kind of a lame title, but it's like a beachy Alabama song, from where I'm at.
Okay.
But yeah, and then shows wise, I mean, if I'm being honest, I have mainly been focusing on social media right now. I've been doing shows here, I've been doing shows in Indiana, whatever, but I don't have anything big coming. I don't have like, hey, I'm gonna be at the listening room. I don't have none of that.
Okay.
It's mainly I'm just hustling online. I email venues, I email them, and I do all the stuff I'm supposed to do. But if you don't have a certain following, they don't want you. You know what I mean? They don't want nothing to do with you. It sucks, but that's how it is these
That's
days.
well,
true.
they'll be sorry once you play Red Rocks.
Yeah, right. That's what I think. Yeah, yeah. You wait.
You just wait.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. You just wait.
So you mentioned how you've been hustling on social media. So please tell the folks where they can find you, your music, your news, anything that's going to happen for Dakota Ray Parker. Where on them
Yeah.
their interwebs.
Yeah, you can literally find me anywhere except for OnlyFans. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anywhere, everywhere. You can find me everywhere, literally. And if you really, my preferred way of you finding me is dakotarayparker.com. That's my preferred way because it has all my subscription. I'm trying to get people on the subscription list so I can like squeeze them for money, trying to get money out of them. You know how that goes. But dude, that's gonna.
Nice.
But yeah, that's
Hey,
the website.
if you're really looking to squeeze people for money, I hear feet pics on OnlyFans is a pretty popular thing. So you can always give that a shot.
Hey, there's an
You
audience for
could.
everything.
That's true.
There
That's
is.
true.
There sure is.
Well, we're
There
gonna
is.
make sure there's links in the show notes to all those places except for the feet pics on OnlyFans. Dakota Ray Parker, thank you so much for your music and for your story. We're excited to see what 2026 has in store for you. Thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Thank
everybody, stick
you.
around. The Picking the Grinning segment's coming up next. Let's go out with the song we mentioned earlier, Dakota Ray Parker's breakout single, Rebel on the Run. This is Roots Music Rambler.
I left my home with a whiskey wolf, my belongings on my back. They were cactus skies and bloodshot eyes, leaving the life I had. The wind was swift and roaring and the sand was blocking sight. The sun shouted down at me, safe travels tonight. My mind was weak and spinning as the liquor lost its grip. I got sober blood, getting thick like mud. There's darkness closing in. The wind howls like the wolf. My sin boils in the sun. Lord, I can't change what I've done. A broken rebel on the run.
How about that Dakota Ray Parker, ladies and gentlemen? Interesting story. It's one of those guys, when you hear the story, you're just kind of like picking your jaw up off the floor, be like, how are you alive? How are you sitting in front of me and not insane? But fortunately, he's got music to, channel all those emotions and experiences through, and we are the benefactors of that because we get to listen to great music from him. So fun to have him on the show. Good. I'm glad we had some time to talk to him.
Me too.
Good. It is time for the Picking the Grinning segment. This is the part of the program where Frank and I pick the songs, the artists, the albums, the soundtracks, the movies, the whatever the fuck is going on that's making us grin this week. It's kind of our way of recommending music to you in general. And I don't know who went first last time. So Frank, I'll let you do the honors and you can tell us who your Picking the Grinning is for this week.
All right. Well, my pick this time, is someone that I bet you're familiar with, and a lot of our listeners are familiar with. And he is a solo artist, but he also he has played with a bunch of other bigger artists that we know. So the artist I'm talking about is none other than John Calvin Abney. All right, Oklahoma boy. And he kind of he really has his hand in a lot of different projects and working with a bunch of different artists. And I saw him most recently when we went to see SG Goodman in November. He was playing in her band. And I didn't realize it when when I was going to the show. And then I was met up with some other friends. And when the band was getting set up before the set, one of my other friends is like, "Hey, is that John Calvin Abney?" And I'm like, yes, I think so, And sure enough, it was. And that was a nice surprise
Yeah.
because he's one of those guys. He's like the Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything. I mean, at one point he he totally was channeling Jay Gonzalez. He was sitting at the keyboard with an electric guitar strapped around him.
Yep.
And he's got his baseball cap turned to the side, and he's just loving life and and playing the keys and then standing up and hitting the guitar a little bit. He's currently on tour right now in Japan, a solo tour. So he's out promoting his own stuff. And I just think he's a really talented guy, not horrible to look at. And, it was a really nice surprise to see him with SG. And I mean, I'd seen him play before. One of the times I saw Margot Silker, it was just the two of them, John Calvin Abney and Margot. And I know I've seen him before, can't place exactly where or when, but he has played with John Moreland, a bunch of other artists that we would know and love.
Yep.
So check him out.
Very nice. He did play with SG here in Louisville.
Right.
They ended the tour back in November. So I got to see him play as well. And Jay Gonzalez is a really good comparison because he was, had 2 or 3 instruments strapped to himself while he's playing 2 different keyboards and doing all sorts of stuff. So super, super talented musician. So good one. I like that. John Calvin Abney is one of the picks. So my pick in the grinning this week is a group that's been around for a while, and they've started to make a little bit of noise on the Americana music charts. So I've been playing their new single Sometimes on the radio station here a couple of times over the last month or so. And that would be the Wildmans. They are from Floyd, Virginia, which is south of Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is.
Okay.
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere in that sort of Western Virginia part of the state. And Elijah, I think, is it's a brother and sister. It's Elisha and Isla, brother and sister group, the Wildmans. And they are this really interesting mix of folk and traditional and a little bit of rock and a little bit of country. They have this really interesting Americana blend of a sound, but they've written some really radio friendly songs in this latest album that they've got out. They've been on tour supporting a couple of different acts. They've come through my area. I have not been able to see them live yet. But the more I listen to them, the more intrigued I am at their songwriting and their musicianship, if you will. And so, the Wildmans, it's the wildmans.net is their website. We'll make sure there's links to their stuff in the show notes, but their song Sometimes has charted on the Americana music charts here the last month or so. And it's actually a really good tune. And the new album that they've got, I guess it's about 6 months old now, is pretty good top to bottom as well. So I've been kind of low key enjoying them for a few weeks now, and I thought I would share them with everybody here on the big program as well. So there you go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Good tunes to go listen to.
For sure.
I don't think they're the kind of band you're going to listen to and go, "Oh my God, turn it up. I fucking love this shit." But you're going to be like, "Huh, well, this is cool to listen to. This is,
Yeah.
I like this. This is good, you know. And
Nice.
sometimes you need those bands because
Yeah.
you can only have a ZZ Top come along every so often, right? Where you're just like, fuck yeah, turn it up.
Or a Van Halen, as
Or
I
a
see on
Van
your
Halen.
t-shirt.
Yep, that's right. A Van Halen shirt on. All right. I've had too much caffeine and I'm about to crash. So this episode has been far too long and I've been far too mouthy. So we should probably wrap this shit up. How about it?
It's a new year. We got a lot to say.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And this is probably dropping somewhere around the week of my birthday, I would think. I don't know.
Oh, all right.
We're recording it a little earlier than that. So I don't know
Yeah.
when it's going to drop, but it's probably going to be somewhere around there. So I'm fucking old. How about that?
Me too.
Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2025. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next hoedown and throwdown. She's Frank.
He's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.